Japan, a country whose heart beats with the sights, sounds, and shape of an ancient civilization. Japan, a modern country with new sights and sounds. Japan, a living mixture of old and new, harmony and tension. This is the heart of Japan.
This is a neighborhood in the traditional part of Tokyo. Today, the air is filled with a sense of joy and exuberance. It's the day of a Matsuri, a yearly festival that's held when the tutelary Shinto deity descends from the heavens and is carried throughout the neighborhood in a portable shrine. The mikoshi, the portable shrine housing the particular deity each neighborhood worships, leaves the compound of the main shrine in a procession. The participants and onlookers are filled with excitement. The Kato family loves festivals and is among the crowd filling the streets.
I really look forward to festivals. Whenever I go to one, I find it thrilling.
This is Mr. Kato's office. Attached to the wall is a Shinto altar. Many Japanese businesses have a shrine such as this where the Shinto deity of commerce and prosperity is enshrined. Altars like these are found not only in corporations, but in many other places too. In what is almost second nature, Mr. Kato claps his hands before the altar in a Shinto prayer.
Please, let today's transaction go well.
Mr. Kato, who took part in the festival with such enthusiasm, maintains that he has no religion. Not only he, but the majority of Japanese feel the same way. Since time immemorial, Japan's indigenous creed has been Shinto. Because Shinto is polytheistic, encompassing hundreds of different kami, the Japanese word for Shinto deities or spirits, Japanese have usually been inclined to show tolerance toward other religions. So, even in cases where only one faith is adhered to, the Japanese don't necessarily deny the efficacy of others. The Japanese invoke the deity or creed appropriate to the situation, whether it be Buddhism or one of the various Shinto deities. Mr. Kato, like many of his countrymen, embraces various deities at each of the many festivals and ceremonies throughout the year. How is it that Japan came to accept this plurality of religious belief? From the dawn of time, Japan has enjoyed nature's blessings, which, in turn, have profoundly influenced religious and spiritual beliefs. About 65% of Japan is covered with forests. Abundant rainfall and rivers continuously fed by mountain waters have nurtured the lush, densely wooded terrain. The seas surrounding the Japanese archipelago provide an abundant and varied catch, made even more bountiful by the Japan Current, the world's largest warm current, which flows along the country's Pacific coast. A site of considerable volcanic activity, Japan has 30% of the world's volcanoes and over 20,000 hot springs. Japan's 4 distinct seasons ensure varied plant and animal life. Long free from the threat of external enemies and invasions, the Japanese lived amid relative peace and calm for centuries. Thanks to the ongoing rhythms of nature and abundant vegetation in most of the country, few Japanese had a continuous struggle against a harsh environment. Perhaps this explains why they lack either extreme religious fervor or an apocalyptic vision. But there are other reasons. The Japanese have always harbored a love of nature and sought to live in harmony with her. Haru and her friend both live in a mountain village and are on their way to work in the fields. Haru has a special affinity for mountains. The spirit of the mountain is said to dwell in this tree. Haru always offers up a prayer to the spirit as she goes by.
Spirit of the mountain, I humbly ask you to grant me your protection for yet another day.
Haru seems to hear the voice of nature through plants, trees, and even rocks. According to Shinto belief, there are countless kami who inhabit the world of Japanese folklore, which have their origins in animistic beliefs. Come rice planting time, a kami descends from the mountains to watch over the crop and ensure a good harvest. After the harvest, the villagers offer food and sake in gratitude for its divine protection, after which they see the kami off as it returns to its mountain abode. Having appeased the kami in this manner, the villagers can again count on its favor for the next harvest. Such beliefs are still very much alive today. This is Haru's home. Yet another of the many Shinto deities is enshrined in the household altar. The divine spirit dwells within the sacred mirror, which is flanked on both sides by vases holding branches of the sacred sakaki tree, as well as offerings of sake, rice, and salt, and represent the wish for family prosperity. The talisman next to the altar represents the kami and comes from the local shrine. There are many kinds of shrines all over Japan. At this one, people are praying in hope of making a happy marriage. But there are also shrines for the kami of the poor, the kami of sake, and even the kami of tobacco. Each shrine can offer colorful anecdotes about how its resident spirit became deified. At this shrine, students pray that they will pass the entrance exam to the university of their choice, and then write their wish on these wooden plaques. The famous 9th century scholar, Sugawara Michizane, is worshipped here as the deity of scholarship. In this way, the spirit of an actual person can be deified upon death in Japan. Many Shinto deities in Japan are the spirits of real historical figures, such as certain emperors and other notables who received this honor posthumously. So, although they are deities, they dwell in proximity to mortals and are part of people's lives. Japanese homes often also contain a Buddhist altar in addition to the household Shinto shrine. Here, a Buddhist image and the family's ancestral spirits are enshrined. Apart from graveside services, prayers for the repose of ancestors are also invoked daily here before this household altar. It houses both a statue of Buddha and a mortuary tablet with the names of the family's ancestors. The spirits of their ancestors are very real to the Japanese, who make an offering of food and water every morning and never forget to relate important events of their lives to them. In this way, many beliefs have coexisted for centuries, and new creeds, encountering no particular resistance, were readily accepted. Let's take a look at these beliefs as expressed through ceremonial occasions. Most funerals are performed in accordance with Buddhist rites. Relatives gather to mourn their loss and pray for the repose of their loved one. Just as a Buddhist priest is given a new name after completing religious training, the deceased also receives a posthumous name for his or her journey into the next world. In return, a considerable sum is donated to the temple. After the funeral and cremation, the ashes are placed in a small urn. The first memorial service is held 49 days after death. Family and relatives hold Buddhist services for the soul of the deceased over the next several years at prescribed intervals. The ashes are laid to rest in a grave. The memorial tablet with the posthumous name of the deceased is placed in the household altar. For a typical Japanese, life ends with Buddhist rites and birth is marked by Shinto celebrations. 1 month after birth, infants are taken to a Shinto shrine by their paternal grandmother, where their family prays for the health of their child. Shichigo-san is a celebration held in the child's 3rd, 5th, or 7th year. For boys, it's always in their 5th year. For girls, it can take place in either their 3rd or 7th year. First held by the Tokugawa shogun in 1650, this ceremony expresses the hope the child will grow up to be a strong and productive member of society.
I've splurged on nice clothes for the occasion. Some say it's just for show and the self-satisfaction of the parents. I guess that's true of myself as well. I've spent more than I should have.
These offerings symbolize the betrothal. When a couple gets engaged, auspicious gifts are presented by the man to his fiancée. They express the wish for longevity and the prosperity of the family line. Most wedding ceremonies are held at a shrine or church. At Shinto ceremonies, nuptial cups of sake in 3 graduated sizes are used. The sake is poured and drunk in 3 sips to symbolize the marital union and to bring good luck. Family, friends, and relatives all attend the wedding banquet to honor the bride and groom and the new life they will share together. All eyes are on the bride as she periodically reappears in 2 or sometimes 3 new outfits during the reception. The ceremonial occasions mentioned so far took their present form in the Edo period. But among the seasonal festivities throughout the year, there are many that date from antiquity. Seasonal events lend a charm and welcome change to the seamless flow of time. They provide an opportunity to take a rest from work, to share the joy and meaning of the occasion, and to be refreshed, as well as breaking up the year and adding variety to the repetitiveness of everyday life. Today is tsukimi, moon viewing. Haru is busy with preparations. It wouldn't be a proper moon viewing without these traditional dumplings. Long ago, farming was done in accordance with the phases of the moon. In gratitude for a good harvest, offerings were made to the moon, and its beauty was praised. Japanese people also celebrate Christmas in their own way. To eager children, it means a colorful tree, a Christmas cake, and a visit from Santa Claus.
せーの。はい、たくや。はい、さあちゃん。ミカ。ケーキ食べた？まだ？
まだ。
ケーキ後でね。
ケーキ美味しい。
At the end of the year, I haven't a moment to spare. I do a thorough house cleaning, make rice cakes, and get ready for the New Year's festivities. In showing respect to Toshikami-sama, the spirit of the new year in this way, we mark the beginning of each year and ensure next year's good fortune.
On New Year's Eve, the temple bells ring out the old year at midnight. That night, or early on New Year's Day, Japanese people throng to a shrine to make their first visit of the year. Mrs. Kato makes special New Year's dishes every year. Since these dishes keep well, they can be eaten over a period of several days, giving the women of the household a break from cooking chores. It wouldn't be New Year's Day without ozoni, a traditional soup containing propitious rice cakes.
My wife brought these dolls with her when we married, and now they've been handed down to our daughter.
To ward off misfortune to girls, these dolls were at one time floated down the river or out to sea in surrogate sacrifice. Over time, the dolls became sumptuous displays used to decorate the home during this annual festival of dolls. Tanabata commemorates the once-yearly meeting of the two constellations, Altair and Vega, as they come together across the Milky Way. The love story of the cowherd and weaver stars has its origins in Chinese mythology. After one's wishes are written on strips of paper and attached to wands of bamboo, a prayer is offered to the gods. The city-dwelling Katos return to their ancestral home in the countryside. Haru is happy to be reunited with her son, whom she hasn't seen for a long time.
During Obon, a fire is lit to guide the souls of our ancestors back to the world of the living. For the duration of the Obon festival, the spirits take up residence here in this alcove. The dancing to appease the spirits has begun. Family members come from far away to be together at this time of the year. What a nice obon we're going to have this year.
In Japan, a temperate climate has given rise to an eclectic body of beliefs, marked by a tolerance for all creeds. This all-embracing acceptance still characterizes Japan, although it has been transformed by history and the passage of time. The ceremonies and festivities handed down to us from the past may seem irrelevant in this day and age. However, they not only create but also articulate the hearts and souls of the Japanese people, and by doing so, illuminate the essence of the Japanese character.